Warning. When Mitch has got something to say, he always says, listen. I don't know why he does that, but he does it. So here's my warning. Don't let the familiarity of Paul's text rob you of an opportunity today to see it in a new light. Don't do it. Some may say that I'm asking you to suspend your own patterns of thinking and to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, just as Paul instructs us to do. Paul writes, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what the will of God, what it is good and acceptable and perfect. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. The most powerful thing you can do to change your life is to change your mind. And yet it's difficult. Changing our mind can be a very difficult thing. Well, why? Because physically, our human brains develop this deep, connective, cognitive shortcuts for emotional attachments, our existing beliefs, and our identity markers. In other words, we as adults are pattern-making machines. And the adult mind loves and thrives on patterns. But what happens when those patterns are challenged or they're wrong? We lean into and love these patterns so much that we allow these patterns to stick around even when they don't serve us. Nous, it's the Greek word for mind. We're going to get into the Greek in this a little bit, refers to the seat of understanding. The mind is the place of thought, feeling, moral attitude. So far, that makes a lot of sense. It's the inner lens through which a person views life and makes choices. So, for example, a simple task that gets interrupted breaks the pattern in our brain that things should just go correctly, like a new traffic pattern or being on hold too long with customer service rep. Or maybe it's just me, but when you think your body should be able to do something that it used to but now cannot. It's probably just me. So however these patterns exist, they're powerful. And they have implications. For example, we have patterning in our addictions. And before you tell me, Pastor, I don't have any addictions, I say bollocks to that. We all have vices. Too much sugar, too much spending, too much soda crush, too much addicted to media content, or maybe you can't let go of some form of toxic relationship. There is a pattern. And there is an implication when we choose not to challenge those patterns. So I'm going to suggest that the battleground for our health and well-being and our spiritual strength and maturity is taking place in the mind. And I'm not alone. I'm going to argue that Paul thinks so too. The battleground that's in our mind, it hijacks our time and our talent. And it can hijack our treasures and our attention. And what I've observed in my own world is my central nervous system, the levels of anxiety and pressure that are in my mind. They're in my mind. Where do I get these patterns from? Well, the world. Paul says, do not be conformed to this world. What's so interesting is the attacks and the trials that were facing the minds of the Romans over 2,000 years ago are still the trials that are attacking our minds today. We're them and they are us. Our mind is what needs to be sacrificed to Christ and to Christ alone. If Paul was here in 2026, he would say it like the kids would say it in their language. Who is living rent-free in your mind? What is living rent-free in your mind? That's what the kids would say. The core meaning of this is to stop the mold, the renewing of the mind, not mold like something got old and there's bacteria on it, but the mold of this companion command, do not be conformed. It means do not let the surrounding age squeeze you into an out of shape pattern. Do not be conformed to this world. All require transformation and renewal of our minds, but how and why? Paul is clear. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you may discern the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. What's was a struggle for me this week was the fact that the English language does not actually capture what the original Greek means. So it's like Princess Bride, that doesn't mean what you think it means. Like it's not what you think it means. Transformed, Paul used the word transformed from metamorpho, meaning an outward change that comes from an inner core. It's we don't the closest word we have to this level of transformation is metamorphosis, of what a caterpillar does turning into a butterfly. A caterpillar doesn't strong arm or think its way into a butterfly state. Rather the caterpillar transforms passively. The Greek word that came from metamorpho that's used transformed, it's passive. It's not a verb. You let yourself be transformed. You allow yourself to be changed in the face of self-improvement or external forces. It's an inside out. So because this transformation is passive, the real change happens when a person stops resisting and lets a new perspective take place of an old mental habit. Let's transition to the word renew. That word doesn't mean what you think it means either. Anakinosis, the Greek word we call renew or renewing, is a total renovation or complete change for the better. Not just change for change's sake or change because culture told us to, but it's actually a change for the better, which means something new in nature or quality, something fresh and different from an old, worn out state. And where is this happening? In our nous, in our seat of understanding. The new vision Paul is suggesting to us is that it is not the goal of positive thinking or behavior modification or gaining a completely new way of seeing the world because now I'm positive and everything is great, but rather thinking that aligns with divine perspective. So if that's the how, why? Why would I bother transforming, being transformed by the renewing of your mind? It says it right there, so that you, not me, not the media, not who we vote for, not our neighbors, not our family, not our friends, but you and me, we can discern what is the will of God for the good, for what is good and what is acceptable and what is perfect, because if it's divine, it is good, it is acceptable, and it is perfect. I'm going to close with this. And brothers and sisters, I have good news for you today. Paul has provided a blueprint on how important, how and why transforming and renewing our mind is the preferred state of God that God has for us in our lives. It is preferred. Anything under his standard, him want it. He wants our minds to be transformed and renewed. He wants our minds to be sacrificed to his will, his goodness, his divine perspective. When we experience anything else, let me give you language. When we experience anything else, it is flesh, it is ego, it is sin, or it is just our pain body. We live in our physical self, absent of our spiritual self. But when we submit our minds to the will of God, to the word of God, to the work of God, we will be able to access transformation and renewal that doesn't look like the world's definition. How do we do that? We stay present. We accept our daily bread. In all things, we are asked to give thanks. My knee hurts. You're asked to give thanks. My arm hurts. You're asked to give thanks. I bet, Pat and George, your heart hurts. For Kenny and Jenny, you're asked to give thanks. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. But count it all joy. And joy is a spirit. That's another sermon. But if I may close with this, I want to talk about you. If you're wondering, a real life example of an organization that has renewed its mind, that has transformed and allowed a renewal to happen, I'd like to compliment this church for one moment. I want to highlight how I have seen, how Mitch and I have witnessed firsthand a transformation and renewal of this space. And what does it look like? It looks like you. It looks like heritage. It looks like being a living witness to one another's needs. Here I am typing this sermon, and here you are thanking Maritza for help. It looks like living in communion with one another and serving the people of Madison. It looks like doing church differently. Selling a building, stepping out in faith, walking on the water, renting a room at Heritage Square, knowing full well that we, the people, are the church. The people and the covenant that we live and worship by, we are Heritage Congregational Church. We have transformed and renewed our mind and spirit. And this is just one example of witness. None of us are winning in all areas, but in this area, all of us at Heritage are winning. Could you imagine if we won in every area of our life? How boring that would be. May Heritage serve as a testimony to this sermon, to the renewing of your mind, and may you draw encouragement from the following. Paul writes, not me, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Why, Paul? So that you may discern what the will of God is and what is good and acceptable and perfect. Selah.